Indeed. Right, it's time to count the pennies in the piggy bank and get our financial affairs in order because Mr. Money himself, Carl Lamb, is back in the studio. Hi, Carl.
Hi, good afternoon.
Welcome back. And today we're going to be discussing workplace pensions, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Which it's very topical because it's been in the news a lot. I know I've seen the adverts, I can kind of hear the catchphrase ringing in my mind. But why has it been so topical kind of this year?
I think, well, effectively, workplace pensions was introduced in 2012. Quite clearly, that's covering all the major employers, like BT, Marks and Spencers, etc.
Right, okay.
And it's now slowly working its way down the list to medium-sized companies. So, effectively, it's becoming more and more topical because these companies don't actually, in a lot of instances, don't employ their own big HR departments.
Okay.
So they're having to rely more on advice.
And this is something that's going to go on top of the state pension, isn't it? It's not replacing it.
No, it's in addition to.
And what exactly is it? Just if anyone out there is still confused, what exactly does it mean?
Yeah, workplace pensions, it's also called auto-enrolment. So effectively, we wind the clock back prior to 2012. The government have been looking at how to completely restructure the state pension. They recognise that as a country, we're all getting older and obviously it's becoming more and more unsupportive. So they've decided that in 2017, lots of numbers being bandied around here, I appreciate that they're going to make some major radical reorganisations of the state pension. So everybody will be entitled to £140 a week as a state pension. And the trade-off to that is things like pension credits that people are currently entitled to will all be removed. But as we all know, £140 a week is not a fortune. And so it's also saying how can they obviously get people to look after themselves. And they've come up with auto-enrolment, whereby if you're working for an employer, or people that are self-employed or running a partnership, as long as you're employing more than one person, depending on the number of people on your payroll, will dictate when auto-enrolment impacts upon you. But everybody has to go into a scheme.
Right, okay. So can you opt out?
Yes, you can opt out, but the rules are quite rigorous. So as far as the employer is concerned, he will put you into the scheme. He will make the deduction from your payroll. Right. Quite clearly, the company has to make a contribution as well. You then have 6 weeks to opt out. So if you opt out 6 weeks and 1 day, you don't get your money back, and neither does the company.
Wow, okay.
So the danger is some small pots you're just accruing. Having said that, the experience so far is about 85% take-up. So the take-up has been quite large. Yeah. One could argue that currently 1% from you and 1% from your employer is not very big. Ultimately, by the time we get to 2018, as an employee, you'll be contributing 5% and your employer 3%.
And is that optional, that increase in percentage?
No, it's fixed in legislation.
Okay.
And so, but coming back to opting out, so what will then happen if you elect to opt out, quite clearly you're giving up your employer's contribution, but every 3 years your company then has to put you back in again. So it's this cycle of the 3-year cycle.
And this is between the ages of 22 to retirement age, isn't it?
Correct.
So anybody who's younger than that doesn't have to...
They don't have to, but equally if somebody's 18, 19, wants to join the company scheme and obviously meets all the qualifying criteria, they can go knock on the door of the boss and simply say, I'd like to join the scheme, and then the boss has to take you in.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a worry to this because people clearly need the money nowadays. It's money's tight, and sometimes maybe putting in the pension plan like this, they need the money now rather than later on. So this is obviously encouraging them to save, but could also have an effect of maybe them using credit cards more.
Yes, it's a difficult trade-off really, because ultimately all the pension scheme is what you're prepared to give up today to live off tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's just making sure you get that balance right. But you could argue, even if you're paying 1% or 1%, or even by the time we get to 2018, 5% or 3%, the numbers sound quite high, but actually over your lifetime, they're not going to give you the kind of style you're used to.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that was much more common was staying with an employer for 20 years, and now a lot of people do move from job to job. Is there going to be a way of transferring what you accrue?
There's a lot more transparency now, so quite clearly if you move from job to job, the idea being is you'll simply take that with you. And conversely, if you go from being an employee to going self-employed, running your own business, effectively all you do is change the status of the pension fund you're in, and then you contribute it yourself out of your own business, whether you're trading as a sole trader or as a partnership.
Right, okay.
And all these pension funds are investment-led, aren't they? So they will go up and down, I guess.
Yes, there is. Yeah, there are risks involved, quite clearly. Obviously, you're making an investment decision. Now, depending on your attitude to risk and tolerance to loss, some people will go very cautious. Some people back number 10 at Newmarket, not quite good in such a fund as number 10 at Newmarket, but you do get that kind of risk structure. So advice is required, definitely.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing, isn't it? To get the right advice from the right people.
And we've got our right person right here in the studio, so we're very lucky. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting to us about it.
Thank you very much.
And I feel like I've learned a lot, as ever. Cheers, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.